Welcome to the next episode of Language Talks. You will agree with me when I say that there are an incalculable number of channels providing entertainment to us. But still, we keep on searching for that entertainment that engages and intrigues us. Or let me put it this way, something that has the element of story rightly explored, where the backbone of the narration is a well executed plot. I came across such a mythological thriller, a trilogy by Pranay Bhalerao, The Protectors of Kavaach. And let me tell you, it's an unputdownable book. Narration is so brilliant. So we are going to talk to him today, this storyteller, Pranay Bhalerao. Let me tell you about him. He is a passionate book reader and a storyteller. He has authored 4 books till now: The Lost World Rises, The Protectors of Kavaach, and The Protected Rakshasa Kaal. And he has also translated his own book, the Hindi version of The Protectors of Kavaach. So it is in Hindi, it is called Kavaach ke Rakshak. The StoryInk, the best book to screen company, is representing his work for web series adaptation. Pranay is a computer science engineer by qualification, a software engineer by profession, and a storyteller by passion. He has worked with prestigious organizations like Fujitsu, HSBC, and Decathlon Sports in India, and currently he is working with T-Systems Deutsche Telekom as a consultant. He has a deep-rooted interest in storytelling and believes that everything in this world has a story. So let us talk to him. Hi, Pranay.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on this show.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Storytelling is an art, right? So, when did you feel that you wanted to write stories, and how did it all begin?
Um, it was a very gradual process, I would say. And at the end, it built up so much that I realized, okay, this is what exactly I should do. It started out from my childhood, I would say.
Okay.
When I was in school, we used to perform, a lot of cultural activities. We used to perform not the dances. I would not say I was performing the dance in the dance numbers, but it was all a performance, where I have to act, I have to sing, I have to dance. It was a
Achha.
folklore that should be, conveyed through a dance. I think you may be aware of it. It's a Maharashtrian folk lore about Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala.
Yes, right, right.
Yeah. So
Huh.
when I was in fourth standard,
Okay.
I performed it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think like 10, 15 please at 10, 15 places, all 10, 15 places, we won the prizes and all that stuff. So it started from there. And then we used to act in the dramas that were written by our teachers. As we moved forward, we started writing our own dramas. We started directing
Okay.
our own dramas for schools.
Okay.
Um, but again, after reach certain level in your education, there is certain pressure that creeps in. The society wants you to perform well because those are the board exams. People say that if you don't perform in this boards exam, your life will be gone. You'll not have any, your career will be finished basically like that.
Right.
uh, and then I came from a lower middle class family, and education was everything for us because we wanted to perform well, we wanted to study a lot. We were among the bright chaps of our family, me and my sister. So we had to
Okay.
study, we had to do everything. So I consciously, unconscious, I don't know, subconsciously, I gave up on those creative choices.
Side
And
of yours.
yeah, and diverted my focus to this, I would now call rat race of
Okay.
getting 90%, 80%, and all that stuff. But when I was doing my engineering, I met my few seniors who were into creative field,
Okay.
and they told me that this is what we do. So I started communicating with them again. I started visiting the auditions where they were performing. Then after
Okay.
auditions, I used to talk to them. One of my senior, all those people are now in my contact. One of my friend Aditya Lohe is having huge role in a Marathi film now, which is releasing on
Okay.
8th of March.
Oh,
Terva, I would say. It's a
okay.
film which is releasing on 8th of March. So we are in contact, and there's another friend of mine, Shantanu Thengdi, who is a voice artist and a renowned theater actor as well. So those were the people I met. They stimulated my creative,
Mm.
that creative
Instinct.
juices, that this can be done.
Mm.
I was wrong all my life that it cannot be done with all the aims that I have regarding
Mm.
studying. So I started focusing on that area,
Mm.
and then I was into a job again. That rat race started. I have to earn all that stuff. Then again, I met a friend of mine who reintroduced me to this world of books.
Okay.
Um, I was going very down, on down on energy. I was not going out and anything. So he took me home and opened his cupboard, and his cupboard was full of books. So
Oh,
he
okay.
said,
Okay.
pick anyone and start reading. So he sat with me and made me read
Mm.
the entire book. And he was there watching me while I was reading, and he was also reading some of his books.
Wow. Okay.
And we discussed about what is
Mm.
wrong with me, basically, why I'm not
Mm.
on my best energy levels, why I'm down, why I'm not going out. So all that happened. And Yes, I was reintroduced to the books, the world of books. Then I started ordering the books. I was reading the books. I was discussing it with him about the
Mm.
books. Then our
Mm.
friend circle became such a creative circle that every time we used to speak about few, maybe a movie, a story, anything.
Mm.
There was a
Mm.
creative discussion and not the criticisms that were crept in.
Okay.
So my friend here, I'm talking about my friend Rajiv. Um,
Okay.
and I think it's all about the people who that I met in my life. It's
Mm.
them more than me.
Mm.
Then of course my family was there to support me. They were like, do anything that you want to do, but
Mm.
don't suffer.
Mm.
That was their intention only, that do whatever you want to do, but just don't suffer. Don't struggle much, because you don't need to.
Correct. Right.
Basically, you don't need to struggle. You can manage few things without struggling. But of
Mm.
course, it's a different kind of struggle, cannot be equated to the struggles that our parents would have had. It's a
Mm.
different psychological struggle that goes around. So I think
Right.
all those things accumulated piece by piece, and then a creative elephant was created, and that's how I penned these books. Maybe I'll do other creative stuff as well, in terms of entertainment only, in terms of fiction only. But
Certainly.
maybe in motion, in voice, in some of the other collaborations. But this will
Mm.
continue.
Yeah, right. Because you're enjoying it and
I'm
you're at
enjoying.
peace with yourself. That
Yeah,
is why you're doing it.
I'm enjoying it. I think when I read, and see people read, people who give me reviews about the book, I just enjoy those moments, and those are the
Right.
moments that I think I work for.
Why did you pick up the genre of mythological fiction?
So, uh, there was nothing as such a particular, I
Mm.
would say, an idea to pick the mythological genre.
Mhm.
Because we were discussing a lot of things, me and my friends, about what should be the next story. Because before mythological fiction, I have authored two books, The Lost World and The Lost World Rises.
Mhm.
That doesn't have any element of mythological fiction. It's all grounded. It's
Mhm.
all about action, thriller, drama, emotions, and everything. So
Right.
there was no as such plan to pick up this genre. But after reading a lot of texts, I would say, especially Mahabharata and
Uh-huh.
Ramayana, we had this thought, okay, let's tap into this territory.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
went into ideation process, and we went back and forth. We really
Okay.
wanted to present a story which would be based in present times, and reflecting
Ah,
the themes of Mahabharata. But that didn't
okay.
happen. But
Mhm.
in that process, the concept of Kavach trilogy came out. Uh,
Ah, okay.
yeah, I designed this, the past timelines, all
Mhm.
narration and world. And based on that, we started discussing about the present day scenarios as well. And that's the amalgamation of discussions, a lot of books that went ahead in
Mhm.
research and everything.
Hmm.
This concept came up, and when we
Okay.
started writing it, we kind of realized that this belongs to the mythological genre, so that's why we
Oh,
picked it
okay.
up. But there was no as
Okay.
such plan to pick this genre, it just happened like that.
But blending mythology with fiction is a risky business,
Yeah.
I think. And you have done it so beautifully. So tell us the secret.
Thank you so much for this compliment. um so when we were ideating this, as I spoke,
Mhm.
um I had a lot of wild ideas, that I
Okay.
thought I'll bring up some god figures, the
Hmm.
gods themselves in the story, then few characters from our apex as well.
Hmm.
But that dilutes the authenticity of the story.
Hmm.
Even though we are telling the fictional story, anything can happen in a fictional world. Uh, when
Yes.
when it comes to a mythology that has been integrated, we Indians are very connected with our mythology. We are
Hmm.
very passionate and emotional about our mythology, so we don't want it to be tampered. Even if
Yes.
I read some text which slightly derails from what was actually written, and it is retelling that story, I also feel little bit off if it is
Hmm.
not the philosophical aspects only. So we knew that it's a risky business,
Hmm.
if we tap any foot wrong, we would be subjected to this flak and heat. So we knew
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
uh, so that's why we didn't tap into any of the actual characters of our epics, be that
Okay.
Mahabharata or Ramayana. We
Hmm.
created our own characters, our own world. It's just that those
Hmm.
energies that they are having are derived from the ancient India. The only
Okay.
thing I think that we have in our book, which belongs to the texts of Mahabharata, is the
Hmm.
Kavach of Karna.
Hmm.
That's the only thing that we have. Everything else is
And
fiction, and I think that's why this blending is so smooth, that I feel it's smooth, and it's without any a flag or any risks. Um,
hmm.
it's because we are not retelling a story that is already
Oh,
being. We are creating a
that's a
world.
very important word you said, retelling.
Yeah,
You're not retelling, you're
yeah,
writing fiction.
yeah.
Right.
We are not retelling anything. We are also not packaging the existing story as a fiction story. We have
Hmm.
created it a fresh world. We
Hmm.
haven't touched upon the subjects which are already been discussed in um,
Hmm.
Mahabharata or Ramayana. We have the
Right.
references of it. We
Hmm.
also do have some philosophical aspects of some characters that has been
Hmm.
reflected as to what they think about Ramayana or sorry, Mahabharata. But that
Hmm.
is also in a very subtle way, not hurting anyone, not hurting anyone's.
Hmm.
That's why I think this blending comes natural.
Yes. I think your book will make people Google a lot about mythology and Indian culture.
Uh-huh.
So, but a lot of research now says that our epics are not mythology but history.
Mm-hmm.
So, although your books are categorized as mythological thrillers, I would rename them as historical thrillers.
Okay. I mean, yes.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel very overwhelmed and loved when someone says
Mhm.
that after reading my book, people would search about the culture and history of our country.
They
So
would.
I feel very proud as well that what I
Mhm.
have written has triggered some enthusiasm or some
Mhm.
interest, and
Yeah.
there are people and readers are actually going back and reading again about something published by some other authors, maybe about that. So it's like I am promoting reading as well, and creating
Correct.
that world. um and about this, our mythology not being mythology and history,
Mhm.
I do have some mixed thoughts about that,
Okay.
because while I was researching about this, I researched about Harappa. I couldn't visit Harappa because it's in Pakistan, couldn't go.
Right.
you but I visited this one site called
Sinoli.
Dholavira,
Dolavira. Yeah.
not Sinoli. couldn't really make it to Sinoli, but I
Understood.
watched the documentaries of Sinoli,
Mm-hmm.
in depth, and I visited Dholavira. So
Okay.
there are a lot of artifacts that suggest that it may be from that era. But
Mm-hmm.
there are, at the same time, there are some historians who says that we don't have any concrete evidence of
Okay.
when Mahabharata was taken place.
Huh.
Ramayana is something which is very ancient to Mahabharata as well. So we can
Right.
go and infer, Ramayana.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but about Mahabharata, there are few incidents which says that okay, this happened here. Few incidents
Mm-hmm.
says that we are not sure if it is the of the same era, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there are
Right.
historians who
Mm-hmm.
are working and researching on this subject from
Mm-hmm.
decades, and then someone like me comes up, researching about, about 15, 10 books. Out of those 15, 10 books, 10, 15 books, 10 books are fiction.
Yes.
And if I categorize it as a history, then it's a big disservice to the historians. Those are working so hard,
Correct.
you know.
Correct.
Because as we excavate more the sites that we have
Mm-hmm.
discovered, like Sinoli, that like Dholavira. Even when I went visited Dholavira, I came to know that even just 10% of it was excavated. 90% of it is still buried. So they
Chill.
still don't know what exactly that is.
Correct.
Right. So
Correct.
there are a lot of unanswered questions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll, of course, if I have written about Mahabharata or
Mm-hmm.
one character from Mahabharata, I would have said that it's a historical fiction,
Correct. Okay.
because there are at least 5% or 1%, 2% evidences that
Mm-hmm.
this might have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Right.
is my belief that it has happened, because
Mm.
had it not happened, it would not have been so deep rooted in our culture, in our daily
Stay for
talks.
so long also. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is there, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
And why I did not categorize it as historical fiction, I still remember when I released the first official trailer of my book, the
Mm-hmm.
Kavach, Protectors of Kavaach. On Instagram, there were a few comments. I think that over the time got removed. Someone said, "Sir, please rename it as, from mythological fiction to historical fiction."
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, there were
Uh-huh.
comments, there were messages telling me that okay, you need to remove it, else this will happen, this that will happen, and I like okay, I don't need to worry about them, because they are
Yeah.
not the readers, right?
Correct.
And the reason why I don't categorize it as a historical
Mm-hmm.
fiction, because as I mentioned in previously, that we are not retelling anything, we are creating a new world. It's
Correct.
it's a fantasy, it's a fiction. Um,
Yes.
so that's why it's
It's
not historical fiction,
right. It's your universe that
Yeah,
you're
it's a
creating.
different universe. Had I
Mm-hmm.
had something like a story about Karna, I would have said it that it's a historical fiction. But
Correct.
it's entirely different people. It's an entirely different universe. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say it's a mythological thriller. The
Mm-hmm.
inspiration is history, but
Yes.
the world that I've created, the story that I'm telling here, is a mythical story. So that's why it's a
Oh,
mythological thriller.
oh, nice. Well explained. Thank you. I was about to ask you about the approach you have taken for this research
Uh-huh.
when incorporating mythological elements into your stories.
Uh-huh.
But you already explained a few, like you visited some places
Yeah.
and read a lot of books. I
Yes.
think that is your approach.
There are other approaches as well.
Uh-huh.
Mm, we all grow. I grow up as grown up watching. A lot of TV shows. The
Okay.
best would be Shaktiman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we saw those, elements. The kind of power, a
Mm,
man can have. Then we moved to some comics. We had these Raj comics and all that stuff. So we
mm,
we we were so mesmerized by these kind of powers that it could happen.
mm.
We were just discussing if we could incorporate those elements into a Desi superhero. Basically that was the thought
Idea.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of those mythical elements that you see, of course, the mythological elements are from books and the travel and research, all that stuff.
Mm.
But those
Mhm.
mythical elements, Rudra having the power of fire, he can blend few things. And then there is Kal, then there is this Shaurya. All of them are
Mhm.
having some unique powers. This all came from amalgamation of all those stuff and crazy things that we discussed as kids. So I incorporated all of that, but with a little maturity. The
Mhm.
craving to put everything was kept aside, and
Right.
a little was chosen.
You took what you wanted for that plot, for
Yes,
that characters.
yes, yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I find it amazing how media influences us. I mean, not only print, but also the visual and audio medium. They keep on affecting our brain in a good way. Yeah. So, what challenges do you face when writing fiction, and how do you overcome them?
Uh, there are a lot of challenges.
Mhm.
When
I'm
you
sure.
start, yeah, when you start something, when you start writing something, um, at least this is what happens to me, that I think this
Mhm.
is the best that I have written, or maybe the
Okay.
best concept that I have written or
Mhm.
thought of. But after 2 weeks, it feels like, no, this is something may not be working.
Mhm.
uh, this is something which is very cliched, you know
Mhm.
it's a cringy stuff, all that,
Mhm.
those thoughts creeps in. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of concepts that I have dropped because of that feeling, this
Okay.
um
Mhm.
but
So
uh,
when you revisit, you don't find it that exciting.
yeah, when I revisit that, I don't find it exciting. It doesn't stay with me. But there
Mhm.
are few stories which stays with me for long, and I wait to see if it grows.
Mhm.
For example, I wrote The Lost World just like that. I waited
Mhm.
for it to grow, and I could not stop thinking about it, the concept. The
Okay.
Kavach trilogy, I was not able to stop myself from thinking about that concept. It was coming back
Mhm.
to me again and again and again. Just to test myself, I started writing some other story, but
Okay.
this thought started coming in. It was
Mhm.
it was repeating. So I considered it as a signal that, okay, this is the story I wanted to tell. But
Mhm.
sometimes what happens is there is a creative block. You don't know what to do.
Oh.
Even if you have all entire roadmap, you don't just
Mhm.
feel like writing it,
Mhm.
because it becomes so monotonous, I would say. You do it daily. You're doing the same things. You are clanking your keyboard. Even if you're changing your keyboard for good reason, you'll enjoy it for 2 days, and then it's again the same keyboard.
It's the same thing you're doing, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing
Over
you're
and over again.
over and over again. So it also needs some break. So in order to do
Mhm.
that, I'll pick up any book. I'll read it.
Mhm.
I'll start shooting some videos.
Okay.
For all the short films that I have, maybe
Mhm.
I'll do some video edits. I'll design
Mhm.
some covers that of the books that I never planned, just a random things. I'll recreate the movie posters, but with some different themes and all that stuff. So it should be some creative stimulation as well. In
Yes.
order to be creative, I cannot be at my ease, take a sleep, watch something which is irrelevant to the context of what I'm doing. So I do those things, and then I go back and revisit again. I read the entire manuscript that I have written, and then
Okay.
it feels like I'm back on track. That's how I
Mhm.
think I come over the places. And
I think you take a creative digression,
yes,
but create, and
yeah,
you're back to another creative
yes,
activity.
yeah. It's just a little detour, but
Mhm.
a creative detour, I would say.
Huh.
Yeah.
Why do you think the mythological storytelling genre continues to resonate with readers today?
Uh, First thing, because it's so deep rooted in our culture, uh,
Mhm.
that every major festival that you see uh,
Mhm.
and we celebrate has some mythological story, or a history.
Right.
And it's not just the major festivals, even the smaller festivals, or the local festival of any religion, caste, sect,
Mhm.
anything. It has some mythological backing to it. Even the demigods are there. There are demigods which are again powerful. We don't know about them. So I
Right.
think our mythological epics,
Mm,
history, and literature is
mm,
so rich that
mm,
every page of that
mm,
epic literature or ancient
mm,
literature has a
mm,
story.
mm,
And nowadays, people are storytellers are so creative that they can
mm.
blend one set statement or one particular incident into a fictional story.
Okay, right.
So that's why it becomes very interesting to read a concept, or I would say a
Mhm,
perspective of a creator as to what
mhm.
they have to have to show. I
Uh-huh.
would say mythological fiction is still resonating with the current generations. I
Okay.
would not say the same for mythological non-fiction. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, because people would say that okay, if I have to read about mythology or my history in as a non-fiction, I'll go back and read a historian's work.
mm, mm.
Those are the very
Correct.
prominent, solid, and genuine works. But
Mm,
when it comes to fiction, it detaches you from the chaos that is going on in your world, in your
yeah,
office, and the
yeah.
deadlines that we follow. Detaches you from everywhere, and it transports you
Totally.
to a world of hope, world of some knowledge and entertainment as well. That's why it resonates. It still resonates. But if uh, if if the storytellers or creators doesn't break this shackle of same pattern, you know
Mm,
um, if the same pattern goes on for long, maybe 4 5 years, then
mm,
again mythological fiction will be considered as a romance fiction only, like the romance fiction, because now it's like a mediocre romance fiction. Only if some book which breaks the shackle of storytelling, the typical romance, it goes up
mm,
to become a big success, or
mm.
loved by
Bestseller.
most. So I
Right.
think it's important to revisit the style of storytelling when it comes to mythological fiction. We have to leave those some of the tropes, like a chosen one, like the
Mm,
almighty powerful, like the villain is all bad. You have to give that perspective. Okay, it's you to choose. You have the liberty to choose from the characters,
mm,
good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, and
mm,
see a story from a lens of pure readership, not the perspective, that author trying
right.
to give his perspective that, okay, I said he's the villain, I said he's the hero. No, you don't have to say this. Either it should be a story about entire gray villains or entire
Mhm,
all the heroes clashing together. But all those little tropes, it's not a
mhm,
major difference, I would say, but a little changes, subtle changes would
mm,
make keep this genre relative for a long time.
mm. Yes, I agree with you. There has have to be gray shades,
Yes.
right? So, in addition to themes from mythology or history, so are there any particular themes or motifs that you find yourself drawn to?
Um. Yes. I mean, as a storyteller, I don't want myself to confine in one genre.
Mm,
I don't see it as inspiring enough, to confine or identify myself as one genre author. I
mm,
don't want myself to identify. If someone introduces me in future that he's an author of a mythological genre, he writes only in mythology. No, I don't want that. I want people to introduce me as he's Pranay Bhalerao, author, a storyteller. That's
right.
what I want. Of course,
Or yeah, or better a creative person.
yeah, better a creator or something like
Yeah,
that.
creator,
Um,
right.
there are few
Mhm,
subjects that I really want to
mhm,
explore, and it's in my bucket list that these are
mm,
subjects I want to explore. So I have explored action thriller genre, action
mhm,
adventure genre,
right.
mythological fiction. I have explored.
Mm,
I'll probably not tap into this romance genre
mhm,
because it needs that. specific level of something different that
Mhm.
I feel every romance novel is now the same, follows the same tropes. Even
Yeah.
if I imagine few romance story, it will be love stories, it will be following that same trope, two
Mhm.
unknown, then friends, then lovers, then conflict, and then solved, that's it. It's something like that. But what I really
Mhm.
drawn to is
Mhm.
political fiction. uh,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I would really want to tap into the subject of Kashmir conflict, uh,
Oh, okay.
uh, with
Mhm.
with
Interesting.
some, yeah, with some theme that should be
Yeah.
that should complement the Kashmir conflict. A few things that I have outlined,
Mhm.
but not concrete. The second and most interesting that I am most drawn to is a psychological thriller, I would say. Um,
Yes. Mhm.
so I like to do that. There are few stories
Mhm.
that I have in psychological genre. Uh,
Mhm.
but up until now, we have only explored it for the short films, to be
Achha.
short. Me and my
Okay.
friends, we are collaborating together to write first, then shoot
Mhm.
across locations. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll be at helms of affair for Indian locations, and he'll be
Mhm.
for the UK locations. So we are
Okay.
planning things out. Let's see how
Okay.
it goes. But for a book
Mhm.
as well, I do also have a story about the psychological thriller. So let's see what happens next. Just the way Kavach trilogy happened, I hope this will also
I
happen.
was going to say this. My personal recommendation for you would be a book about human mind, and you mentioned that psychological thriller. So yes, I'm waiting for that.
Even the second book of this trilogy, Kaal, also deals with human
Mhm.
mind. It actually shows how evil the human mind could be. The
Mhm.
beginning of the book itself conveys that. So yeah, I mean, I tried to tap into that area, but because this is a mythological fiction, I had to serve a story. I couldn't
Mhm.
really go deeper into that because it would have been too darker, you know.
Yes.
Uh,
So
but
it
I'll
would have been a different aspect altogether
Yeah.
otherwise
So
in
I'll
that.
have to save that philosophy, that concept for another book. It will come.
Mhm.
Surely it will come. But I
Mhm.
cannot commit when. You know,
No
it
problem.
has
Take your
it has
time.
to have it has to build organically. But I'll do it.
Yes. So we are talking about your books, but we are not talking about them. So tell us about the books one by
First
one.
one was the Lost World. Um,
Okay.
the Lost World duology.
Mhm.
So it started when we were in the lockdowns, COVID lockdowns.
Mhm.
Um, So I started writing. I did a lot of research and study as well. Not keeping the story in mind, but just because I was drawn to that. The about the tribes, that
Mhm.
what kind of tribes we have in the world. Are there still tribes who are uncontacted, untouched?
Mhm.
Still lives like we used to live in Stone Age. So I found
Mhm.
out there are a lot of things, a lot of them in the jungles of Amazon. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, there are. I mean, s- even in India, in the
Mhm.
islands of Andaman and Nicobar,
Mhm.
there are few tribes. One of
Mhm.
the dangerous tribes is Sentinels, who
Mhm.
doesn't
Okay.
appreciate the foreign contact, and whoever has gone there, they killed the
Oh.
foreign person. So yeah, it such tribes existed, and there is another side to Andaman, and
Mhm.
those tribes are Jarwa tribes.
Okay.
Those
Mhm.
tribes used to live in the jungles of Amazon, sorry,
Mhm.
Andaman. But the government laid a road, highway, cutting the jungle in half, and
Mhm.
that introduced Jarwa tribe to the modern world.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
now, a few years back, it was claimed as a human zoo, I would say, that people used to
Oh.
flock there just to see the Jarwa tribes. They
Mhm.
could be spotted. There were people who abuse Jarwa girls as well. So there are incidents which are very disturbing, I would say. So all these things, I was thinking about it, and then I thought, let's give it a try. Maybe
Mhm.
whatever the story that I'm cooking, with an intention to give a message that whatever nature protects,
Mhm.
let the nature protect it.
Mhm.
Don't interfere in whatever
Mhm.
the nature is trying to do, because when nature interferes, nobody would be able to save whatever the man-made creations are.
Right.
So to justify this concept, I uh, created a story which depicted war,
Mm.
between two civilization. One is, of course, the tribal civilization, and the other one is what we are living here, the modern
Mm.
civilization, looking for land, for development, construction, and maybe through that they are harming some people and a huge chunk of nature. So I
Mm.
introduced that concept. I started writing it. So it's about that
Oh.
only, the clash between two civilization, two
Mm.
different civilization. But
Mm.
the twist in the story is something like
Mm.
there's one family who are connected with both the civilizations.
Mm.
I introduced that, and it talks about human existence, human mind as well, and a lot of action, violence. So it was about this lost world, and when I started with Kavach trilogy, it's about the long lost secret of Karna's Kavach. That where
Mm.
exactly Karna's Kavach is. If
Mm.
you see the ancient text of Mahabharata, the last mentions of Karna's Kavach is when Lord Indra deceived Karna to
Huh.
take his Kavach and Kundala.
Mm.
That
Right.
was all the mentions of Kavach and Kundala. After that,
Right.
there was nothing.
Mm.
Right. I watched a movie called Naksha, which kind of way, extended this
Mm.
theory, said that it is in the Himalayas and all that stuff.
Mm.
I wanted to tap into that territory. Okay, where exactly is
Mm.
Kavach of Karna, and more importantly, what are the powers of Kavach of Karna?
Mm.
And it
Mm.
cannot be a thing that only present timeline, I mean, present day human beings are after.
Correct.
Right?
Mm.
There must be a hunt from the past,
Mm.
and that's when I created Kal.
Mm.
A story of Kal would be, if you draw parallel with Karna, it's very similar to what
Mm.
happened to Karna. Karna was also given up by Kunti in the Ganga River.
Mm.
Similarly, Kal was given up by his parents in the
Mm.
mighty Yamuna River.
Mm.
Karna was adopted by a family of
Mm.
charioteers, but
Mm.
here Kal was adopted by a family of a potter. you know
Mm.
and all that
Correct.
discrimination that happened with Karna, the
Mm.
his desire to come up, but he was a good
Mm.
man at the end. But here, Kal is not a good man.
Mm.
His origin is itself a very evil. He's the result of Adghori Sadhu's Shav Sadhana. So this is something that drawn me to write this Kavach trilogy.
Mm.
So it's about Karna's Kavach,
Mm.
is the power of Karna's Kavach and the desire to get that
Mm.
and rule the world. I think this is what the Kavach trilogy and the Lost World is all about.
What is on the plate right now?
Uh, Currently, it's the third book of the Kavach trilogy that I'm writing.
Oh, yes. Yes. Right.
The Weapon of Lord Shiva, Trishul.
Mm.
That is in progress. Also,
Mm.
the Hindi translation of the second book is going on.
Mm.
So there was a rising demand of Hindi version as well. So that's why
Mm.
I said, okay, let's do it as well. Let's be bilingual. You know,
Fantastic.
I'm trying to tap it into Marathi as well, because I also
Okay.
consume a lot of Marathi literature. I really want my book to be there in for Marathi audiences.
Right.
So, but I think I'm not the right person to translate it myself.
Mm.
So I'm finding someone, who is proficient in translating Hindi or English versions into Marathi versions.
Mm.
If I find someone, I'll definitely want to, publish that into a Marathi language as well.
Right. Right.
So yeah, currently on plate, it's the third book of the Kavach trilogy, the second
Mm.
book with Hindi translation. And
Mm.
after I finish the third one, I'll translate the third one into Hindi as well. So
Fine.
currently, these things are in plate. I really don't want to overcommit anything, you know. But these are the things.
Oh, that is a lot
Yeah.
already.
Yes.
Because translating one's own literature, that
Yeah.
is a big deal.
Yeah. That's a, in a way, um, I'm reading my book all over again, writing it all over again. So that sometimes I also feel, my God, did I wrote this one? Such a brilliant writer I am. Something this procrastination goes up. And sometimes, what did I wrote? I mean, no, this was not supposed to be written, but it goes well with the story. So yeah, it is like that.
All kinds of thoughts
Yeah, all
while
kinds of thoughts slips in.
rereading it.
Yeah.
I think it's a typical creative person's mindset.
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, great. Okay. So, do you plan to learn any other languages?
Yes, I love to learn new languages.
Mhm.
Currently, there are two languages, the Indian languages, I would say,
Mhm.
that I really want to learn. One is Urdu. I consider Urdu language as Indian language only. We use a lot of words of Urdu words in Hindi in our
Mhm.
day-to-day life that we don't even notice that. When I read Urdu literature a little bit
Mhm.
or hear something, it's a
Mhm.
beautiful language, I would say. So I
Okay.
really want to learn that language.
Mhm.
But first preference of learning language, I really want to learn Sanskrit.
Okay.
Uh,
Going back to the basics.
yeah, going back to the basics
Mhm.
is to see what exactly it was to speak in Sanskrit, and I must say it's the most hardest language to speak, to learn, but the most sweetest language to hear.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Yes.
all the shlokas, mantras that we
Mhm.
hear, if we blend it with creatively good music, it sounds,
Mhm.
even if you don't
It's
understand
magical.
anything, it feels
It's,
magical,
yeah.
right? So I really want to learn Sanskrit. Uh,
Mhm.
so these two Indian language I really want to learn. I tried to learn Kannada when I was in Bangalore, but I could really learn few words. You
Okay.
know, beyond
Mhm.
that, I could not really understand what was going on. After some time, I could guess what was being spoken, uh,
Huh.
but I could not converse in that language. So I used to either speak in English or Hindi.
Mhm.
Talking about international languages, I want to learn German. Uh,
Mhm. Okay.
Reason being, I work in T-Systems, which is a Deutsche Telekom
Mhm.
company, and
Mhm.
all my entire team sits in Germany, and
Okay.
we get to converse every day. I mean, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of German mails that comes in, so I have started to understand few German words.
Mhm.
I already know
Mhm.
few German sentences, but I really want to learn. So
Yeah.
it's just that I want to learn. I don't have the bandwidth to learn. It's just the
Not.
desires that I want to have. But yes, I'll definitely want to learn that.
Mhm.
Even if I don't have bandwidth, I'll create it for myself. Is for Sanskrit and Urdu.
Yeah, I think when we have the desire, we
Yeah,
will do it. But still, practically, we also need time to
yeah,
learn another language. So sometimes it's a continuous battle going on in our minds. I
yeah.
want to do it, but I don't have time.
Yes,
That goes on.
and now as a cross 30s, it's even becomes difficult to learn something new.
True, true. You are a voracious reader. So,
Yeah.
in which languages do you read?
I mostly read in English.
Hmm.
So this is the that's the first of preference that I go with. But lately I'm more interested. I mean, I'm interested in reading Hindi as well, in
Okay.
Marathi as well. I do read consume Marathi literature.
Hmm.
So I'm reading. Currently, I'm reading Godam by Munshi Premchand.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
And in Marathi literature, I'm reading Shivaji Sawant's Mrutyunjay. So even if I have read it, three times, I'll read it for the fourth time, or maybe
Right.
maybe fifth time, sixth time, because it is so infectious. A lot of people told me that they read it in Hindi, they read it in English, versions. They say, okay book, okayish book, and I always tell them the original text is written in Marathi and it has an impact
Hmm.
that nor English nor Hindi or nor any other language cannot match, because Shivaji Sawant sir himself wrote it in Marathi language.
Right.
It was his voice. You have to read it in Marathi. If you don't know Marathi, learn Marathi and then read it. Right. So,
Yes.
mostly English, Hindi, and Marathi literature. These are the three literatures that I
Okay.
consume a lot. But out of those three, English is not dominating because I have a lot of
Most.
books in English.
Yes. Yeah. So can you tell us two of your favorite authors?
Uh,
I mean, it must be a long list, but still.
yes, I mean, I believe if someone has a favorite author or a favorite book, that person has not read enough. Yeah. Uh,
Yes.
but I don't claim myself to be read enough books, so I do have some favorite authors. Amish Tripathi, someone I
Okay.
admire a lot. I met him
Mm,
as well, and I told him about my journey. He heard about it.
mm,
He heard listened to the Kavach trilogy's concept. We discussed about it,
mm.
and he
Okay.
really liked it. He also have
Mm,
my books with him. I hope he reads
mm,
again.
mm,
I mean, reads and then also again gives me the review. I have his review about the concept.
mm,
So,
mm,
the second one is of course Shivaji Sawant sir.
mm.
Mrityunjay, Yugandhar,
Oh,
all those is literatures that defines our mythology in Marathi,
mm.
and makes mighty warriors, gods, as introduces them as our friends, like
Yes.
one of us. So
Mm.
because of that, Shivaji Sawant, then Ranjit Desai sir,
Oh.
historian himself. I
Mm,
read his Radheya, Shivaji, the great Maratha warrior, all that those stuff. I
mm,
love his literature. Then Munshi Premchand is a Hindi
mm,
reading belt. So yeah, these few authors are there which I really like. There is a long list of the authors that I like,
I'm
but
sure. Yes.
but
But
these are the
these
ones.
come to your mind just now.
Yeah, these few authors comes to my mind whenever
Mm.
Manto.
Oh, Manto. Yes.
Yeah, I really like his literature because that reflects the kind of society that was at the time when we thought everything was, sanskari and all that stuff. He reflected what exactly is happening in the society and how regressive it was. And people
Yes.
are calling it as a tradition. It should stop. He was a very brave writer. So yeah,
Right.
these writers I really like.
Your trilogy and the books are playing in past and present timeline.
Yes.
So, do you plan to author a book that dwells in the future?
Well, I had a plan, to write a piece of content on future, you know,
Mhm.
like 3010,
Okay.
telling the story of that year.
Mm.
But the concept was very comical, you know,
Mhm.
um, and we thought that it won't go well with the audiences,
Mhm.
because now I'm writing such a intense trilogy, and then
Right.
going back to comical one will disconnect few
Mm.
readers with the premise of future, dystopian world and all that stuff. We are going back
Mm.
to being comical. It itself was very comical. Trash that idea. But then I tried to search what kind of futuristic books that we have.
Mm.
So one book that always came on top was 1984. Though now it looks like 1984 was like 3-4 decades back, but
Mm.
it was written that book was itself written in 1950s 60s, something like that,
Mm. Correct.
keeping in mind what the future society would be.
Mm.
And that book is coming up very aged very well. That book aged very well. We can
Mm.
feel it across us. But nowadays the tropes that I talked about, no, that
Mm.
same tropes are there. That the destructions have
Mm.
happened. It's a dystopian world, a post-apocalyptic world like that. So I really don't want to tap into those similar, uh,
Right.
yeah, similar.
So, right. I mean, there is a lot of talk about all these things, and
Yeah,
to say that again will be really
yeah.
not good.
Either your representation should be such that it's very interesting, or you
Mm.
come up with very interesting story
Mm.
that needs a lot of thought process. But
Mm.
currently I already have taken a lot of things in my plate. I don't think so I have bandwidth to think about that another story.
Future.
So
Right.
yeah, the future. So yeah, no, I would say I don't plan it yet, but you never know.
Pranay, you are a computer science engineer
Yes,
and you have worked in many multinational companies.
yeah,
And currently also you're working in Deutsche Telekom, I think.
yes, yes, yes.
So how is that experience?
It's a great experience, I would say,
Mhm.
working in this technology field. I always wanted to be a software engineer. I always had
Mhm.
that desire to create a software. But when I created the software, I realized that everyone is creating it. So I really tried myself. Then I tried to change myself,
Mhm.
that this may not be the only thing that I would like to do. So when I
Mhm.
work, I try to go very I would say unorthodox way.
Okay.
I'll create an environment which is funny, fun to work.
Mhm.
If anything escalates or any issues are coming up, I'll make sure that the environment stays light. It's working for me and my team, as they say. Um,
Mhm.
so I'll like to keep that, witty touch. I'll make fun of my own software in a way that it's funny, yet it's insightful. So yeah, it's coming out good. And when a
Yeah.
job like this pays you well, then
Mhm.
you should not complain. You are able to do what you wanted to do, in a creative field, and you
Correct.
are going to office and having fun and earning money. Then what else you need?
Thanks, Pranay, for joining. Wish you all the best for all your projects, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good day. Thank you. Okay, great. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
We will be in touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye bye.